Okay, relax.
Okay, hi, I'm Kim Shipman and I am the acting president as well as sitting down, president of city council as well as sitting down also, I guess, as the mayor tonight. And today is May 6th, 2025, 6 o'clock. It's our city council meeting. It is live in person as well as on Zoom, and it will also be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if we could first get roll call, or no, not roll call, Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge of Allegiance.
Sorry,
Yep.
if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and now we'll take roll call. First, Marcus, who's unable to be here tonight, wanted to let you all know that he discussed the council retreat and follow-up items with Jean. So he is up to date on things. He just was unable to make it tonight.
Okay, Councilmember Daughtry,
Present.
Councilmember Peters Hagan,
Present.
Councilmember Donahue is absent, Councilmember Shipman,
Present?
Councilmember Jorstad online, can you hear us? Councilmember Jorstad, I see you if you want to unmute. All right, we'll move along. I do see her, so we'll work with her. Councilmember Ewing
Present.
and Councilmember Tadjin is absent.
I'm present. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Jorstad.
Thank
So
you.
You excuse Councilmember Donahue and
I
Councilmember.
move to excuse Councilmember Donahue and Councilmember Tadgett.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so they've been excused. Could I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
I would like to make one change to the agenda. I'd like to remove from the consent agenda, Alpha G, Engineering Design Services for Catherine Creek Bridge Replacement Project. The reason I want to do that is because we haven't seen this before and it's over $1 million. So I want to have a discussion about it or an action item instead. So I want to shift that to an action item.
Okay, and I as well would like to add something to the discussion items, which is the boat launch parking at Cove Park and permit enforcement. It is, I'm talking about the trailer parking. That's currently any given day filled with cars instead of trailers, and the cars don't have a Discovery Pass or a Lake Stevens parking pass. And our boaters with trailers have bought passes to park there. So I would like to bring that up as a discussion.
I'll second that. Are you making a motion to add that?
Oh, I'm making a motion, yes.
Okay, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
One more change, Councilor Shipman. I don't think you need to make a motion for it, but on our new employee under guest business, unfortunately is ill tonight, so we won't be doing that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
That's item
5A.
number 5.
5A.
Oh, the guest business tonight, the new employee in the Parks Department, she's ill tonight, so
Are we going to reschedule?
we'll
that?
reschedule. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I guess that moves us on to citizens' comments. Are there any green sheets or?
You have a green sheet with you?
Oh, there we go. And it looks like we have Dana Bittinger. Come on up. And if you could just state your name and address, please, and you've got 3 minutes.
If I may not state my address.
You can just say
My-
if you're from Lake Stevens.
Yes, I am. Just outside city limits, though, please forgive me. And my law enforcement husband will not let me state our address.
Okay.
But we're up just north of city limits. I'm here from the Friends of the Lake Stevens today, Friends of the Lake Stevens Library. I'm the president. And I wanted you guys to know about a opportunity to support the library. We're having an event in September on the 27th. That will be dinner and auction. So far, we've received a huge outpouring of support from the community. I see some very friendly faces to the friends here. You guys have helped us tremendously in the past. And so wanted you to know here at the front end of the event that we're getting wheels on the pavement and getting the planning going.
Is it the 26th or 27th?
27.
27th, September.
Yes. And I will stick around for anybody that wants to chat afterwards. I have saved the dates for you guys.
That's going to be at the new library.
Hmm?
That's going to be at the new library.
No, it won't be because we won't have a new library by then.
Not
It
yet.
will be at the food bank.
Okay.
Our gracious host to us, Anthony's gone above and beyond to make sure that we feel at home there. And I think it will be a wonderful event.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anyone online?
If you'd like to speak to the council tonight and you are in attendance via Zoom, please raise your digital hand and we can let you into the meeting. Nope,
No?
nope.
Okay, so we'll move on to council business. I'll start with you, Councilmember Ewing.
Nothing tonight.
Okay, Councilmember Peter Shagan.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Daughtry.
Nothing to add.
Okay, and I guess I'm up next. The only thing I have to add is I attended our last school board meeting and they're, forging ahead on the remodels. They've hired one of their contractors, the contractor that's going to oversee North Lake Middle School and Skyline. So they've got that contractor hired. And also they mentioned both school board positions are up for grabs. In other words, their current board directors will not be running for reelection. So they did want to put that out there that they will be having two school board directors positions available. Okay,
Now, are those up for right now?
yes, yes,
They have until Friday at 5 o'clock.
yes, not very long. And I want to say it's area number 4 and 5, but
There's two people that have filed already for the two different.
is there two that have
spots.
filed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
3 people? There's 3 people. Okay, and that's it for council business. Does the mayor have anything, Jean?
Did you want to ask Councilmember Georgetown?
Oh, I am sorry, Angie. Councilmember Georgestadt, do you have anything?
It's totally fine. Thank you. No, I don't have anything this evening.
Okay, thank you.
He doesn't.
He doesn't? Okay, and I guess the mayor doesn't have anything. So could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, so it is passed. So let's move on to discussion items. The first item is the recap from the city council retreat. And that's,
Councilmember Shipman, if you don't mind, I think it'd be appropriate to take the action item, which is the 36th Street Bridge agreement first. That was pulled from consent.
oh, sure.
Okay,
Okay,
before discussion items.
okay.
That's okay with the council?
So we're going to take the action item that was on the consent agenda G, which is engineering design services for the Catherine Creek Bridge Replacement Project.
Hi, good evening. My name's Kim Klinkers. I'm the city engineer here representing the Public Works Department. I'm interested in sharing my screen if that's helpful, but I'm getting a notice that the host has
Oh.
disabled participant screen sharing.
It is fixed now.
Okay, let me try again. Thank you. Okay. Coming together. All right, so I'm happy to do a high-level overview and take any questions, but in your council packet, we do have a request for a professional services agreement for design services for the 36th Street Bridge. The total contract amount is $1,121,000 with David Evans and Associates. The staff report quickly overviewed the budget impacts, but most importantly to note, the current 2025 budget includes $1,131,000 for this particular capital project budgeted this year with the intent of design. And I just wanted to quickly add, I remember in December, our engineering team came and presented to council what we've completed in 24 and what was upcoming in 25. And I just will quickly highlight, I think one of these projects was this bridge where we listed roughly what the scope was and the approximate budget of $6.6 million in total for design and construction. And then additionally, this is our current 6-year CIP that was helped develop the 2025 budget last fall, where we do have, I know it's really small, but down here, this is the Bridge 6 replacement project that was showing the $1,131,000 budgeted for 25. And then right now we're roughly approximating $5.5 million for construction. But as kind of explained in the staff report, we're going to be completing an alternatives analysis and refining the design, and we'll have a better construction cost estimate as we move into the 2026 budget process. Also, I just wanted to touch that this particular project did receive a $911,000 Public Works Board loan. And I think there is a small match that the city needed to provide. So I think that's where we got the $1,131,000 for this year. That's was a quick summary, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Kim, is the 5.5 million the actual construction, or is that everything associated with the bridge and storm retention and all the stuff that goes with it?
Sure. So the current scope of the project is to replace the deteriorating bridge, but also we want to do mitigation with the stream and enhance plantings. And we want to realign the road at the intersection with Grade Road. Right now, it's pretty skewed. So there's other roadway improvements. We do want to have pedestrian improvements or a sidewalk across the bridge, which is not currently there. So the scope is attached to the staff report. It's about 50 pages long with the professional services agreement and what DEA was proposing to complete. But to answer your question, the $5.5 million that is currently estimated for next year would include all anticipated construction costs, special inspection, and any kind of construction management that we would need to get it built. And we would have better information about what those construction costs will be later this fall as we approve the 26 budget. But we just need to start with the design and doing some surveying and preliminary design.
So to clarify, is the bridge costing 5.5 million plus realignment of the road and the intersection at grade and mitigation and storm drainage, or is 5.5 million all that
Yeah, 5.5 is our current estimate for all of
for all the
the
improvements?
construction project
All right,
currently.
thank you.
Does that include anything that might have to be done to the stream bed?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay.
The existing abutments are failing as well. So there's stream bed restoration and improvements in critical area impacts that we need to mitigate for when we come back and replace the bridge.
So the most important question I have is it's 8 inches too short to get federal funding on this. Are we going to make it a little longer so we can get federal funding if it ever happens again?
Yes, absolutely. It will be longer. I think it'll be raised up a little bit taller as well.
And then
Yeah.
at
I was just going to say, in the second part of that question, I'm assuming that you said there's going to be a sidewalk on one side or both sides?
Correct. At least sidewalk on one side. That'll be part of our alternatives analysis to vet the cost benefit.
And how many
about-
lanes of travel?
2 lanes of travel is what we currently have
Bike lane?
scoped. We don't have all those details set yet because we want to complete. There was an alternatives analysis, I think that was completed several years ago, where they looked at 3 different types of bridges, but we're really interested in considering a prefabricated bridge structure, like a truss structure. We think that could be more cost effective and really cut down on construction timeline and costs. So we're currently reaching out to other vendors, and as part of starting this design project, we want to fully vet the different types of bridge structures and the widths and the amenities and the costs to be able to provide different types of services, like specifically a dedicated bike lane or a sidewalk. So those will all be vetted, and we can most certainly come back to council and give an update on where we're at once we hit the 30% design level about what elements will be included and kind of what the projected costs are at that time.
And I guess my third question, I'm sorry, I'm rambling on here, but will this bridge be rated for heavy equipment?
Yes, it definitely will be. It does serve our industrial area, and so it will be
Okay.
built to all the current codes and resiliency and
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
And I had a question. Is this sidewalk going to be like a sidewalk island? You know, because right now there is no sidewalk on either side of that bridge. I know with the adjoining neighborhoods, there's definitely sidewalks that could be connected to. At this time, are you just planning on adding a sidewalk with a plan of connecting it somewhere down the road?
I know to the east is the post office along
Yes.
36th Street, and there is existing sidewalk along there. So this project's pretty close to there. So we would connect to that existing sidewalk and then make sure that we had sidewalks across the bridge. And then we still need to think through the roadway improvements that's further west of there to Grade Road. There's no existing sidewalk
'Cause
on Grade Road.
The way it's working now, because I live in that area, so I'm really familiar with that road, is the DR Horton, when they built the housing development just down the street from the Postal Service, instead of putting a sidewalk in front of their housing development, they put it across the street to connect with the existing sidewalk, which made total sense. And then it goes, and then of course the Postal Service put sidewalks just in front of their building, but their sidewalks lead to nowhere.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's not sidewalks on either side of those.
Correct.
So I think it would make more sense to connect it to the other side of the road where they have sidewalks leading all the way to Catherine Drive, then all the way to the Centennial Trail. You know, there's not that break in the sidewalk, just something to consider, looking at both sides of the street and which is most cost effective to lengthen.
Yeah, thank you. Ideally, it would be nice to have sidewalks on both sides.
This is true.
For future
This
development.
is true.
We'll just want to, that will potentially impact the cost and the width of the bridge. So
And push come to shove, the city did a really good job adding lights at the crosswalk there. So you can see if someone needs to cross to the other side to go on the sidewalk.
yeah, that's the other part is we could have a designated mid-block crossing, you know, with pedestrian protection to get people to one side of the road if we only have sidewalks on one side of the bridge. But
Perfect. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, if there's no more questions, then let me get this up so I can look at it. Sorry. I would move to authorize the mayor to sign a professional services agreement in the amount of $1,121,071 with David Evans Associates Incorporated for design and permitting of the Catherine Creek Bridge Replacement Project.
Second?
Okay, that's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Kim, for coming in. I appreciate it. I know it was short notice and I'm the one that caused it, so I appreciate you.
It's no problem. We will discuss these before putting them on consent in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on to Jean with a recap of our city council retreat, which was April 24th, 2025.
Great. Thank you very much. Emailed out to you and in front of you is a large printout of all of the follow-up items from the retreat. And I'll just kind of skim through them. And then I'm going to turn it over to Sarah in just a second because her and her team have done some follow-up items already. As we talked about the county parks, council requested additional information on installing turf and what the benefits would be. So that's what Sarah will be talking about. It was requested to look at other funding mechanisms versus just going out for a bond. That could include partnerships, volunteers, donations, et cetera. So that would be happening. And then council wanted to look at alternatives to payback sooner than later if we bonded these new fields in the artificial turf in there. And then given the opportunity to take over Cavallero Park sooner than later, that was the preference of council. So we're following up on that. And then Sarah also talk about the comparison for revenues for grass fields versus turf fields. And then there was consensus to go ahead and move forward on putting the sales tax increase on the ballot to support parks in Lake Stevens. So that will happen. We've got the due dates when that has to get to the county to get on the ballot. So at this point, if you don't have any questions for me, I'll turn it over to Sarah to talk about artificial turf.
I got one question on the sales tax. What were we able to do for a sales tax increase?
Do you have those numbers
Is that
in front of you,
3 cents?
Sarah?
3 cents? What was it?
Sorry, what was the question?
How much was the sales tax that we could increase for parks?
The total amount of revenue per year?
No, just the cents on the dollar.
I think he's talking
It's
about the suggested. I think it was
0.2%.
Yeah.
2/10 of-
Yes, correct. Okay, awesome. So we did email out and have printed today a response regarding synthetic turf, increased use, revenues, and usage. We went ahead, David Green went ahead, Parks Field Supervisor, and contacted several other jurisdictions to talk about their recent field upgrades over the past 5 years or so, and asked some very direct questions and got responses from some, but not all of the cities. Not all of them answered all of the questions. So you see that broke down in a summary here on the paper in front of you. Overall, from going from natural turf, from grass to synthetic turf, all locations saw a significant increase of use. Specifically, they saw an increase in youth sports, attracted more tournaments, and also saw other sports move into the area such as rugby, lacrosse, other people using the soccer and ball fields when they were upgraded with the turf. So that was great news that definitely use increases. With it, they also report significant increase to revenues. Specifically, Linwood does report that they operate in a net positive with their fields. So that did bring us the news that it is possible to do, and that is accounting for all of their staff cost as well as the hard costs for running the locations. We did get the question answered from Snohomish County about rain cancellations. There's a significant amount of rain cancellations. From January 7th to March 1st, there were 53 of these days. Interesting enough, as he sent out these questions and got a response, was just about a week ago, he got a notice on his phone that the fields had been rained out. We actually hadn't had rain the day prior. We suspect that it may be from irrigation going at times also. So we're seeing some of their rainouts aren't actually due to weather with how those fields are being managed out at the Lake Stevens ball field specifically. The agencies that we spoke to added lights at the same time. They added synthetic fields. We didn't have any examples of the lights coming later. We recommend doing them at the same time if we are going to upgrade synthetic turf. Other events were attracted to locations when they were upgraded with lights and synthetic turf as well. We just need to be aware that we can't use tent stakes. You can't drive on synthetic turf, but you can certainly program around it. You just have to be selective of how you use that synthetic turf. That is it in a nutshell. Does anybody have specific questions?
Right. I'm just looking at the map of the facilities. There's a big field that is what, the equivalent of 2 soccer fields and 3 baseball diamonds. Would the synthetic fields give you the opportunity, if you hosted a baseball tournament, to maybe put 2 more baseball fields on the field just by striping and so forth?
For tournaments and baseball, you would need backstops in place as well as boundary lines if you're looking at ball use. So that would take other infrastructure or movable pieces in which we would also need storage for in order to set it up. Everything's possible. It's just a matter of investing in the equipment and having somewhere to store it as well as staff time to move it back and forth. If we were looking at trying to expand for tournaments, I would highly recommend that we put in permanent backstops and then reserve them as a policy for field usage that we only reserve them for baseball when we're bringing in tournaments, or the other sporting groups have exhausted their priority for booking them for soccer or other sports.
So the synthetic turf would replace all the existing grass fields on the main large field as well as the 3 baseball. What about the infields of the baseballs? Is that a rubberized surface or is that just going to be left as dirt?
Great question. I will need to ask David how he spec'd those out and get back to you with that.
Okay. And this is the extent of the property that is there, right? There's no ability to expand parking or any facilities out there?
Not with the current layout. There's very little undeveloped land on the tax parcel. There are some wooded walking trails that the nature schools and outdoor schools use as you go more towards the RV resort that's next door. There is large undeveloped lands, I believe, to the west when you look on a map, but they're not part of the current parcel. They would have to be acquired, and we would have to look at significant development as they are not flat and could have critical areas on them as well.
What about parking? Is the parking sufficient if we were to increase the use at the park?
There are over 200 parking spots, and that should be sufficient. Yes. Additionally, we do have trailheads nearby and alternative schools and other locations that we could partner with in order to make that happen if we ever needed a larger capacity.
Any other questions?
We're not looking for direction or anything at this point.
No.
Any status update on Caballero or this site as far as securing it from the county?
I don't think any movement's been. I'll let Sarah add,
Mhm.
because she's dying to talk.
I meant to hit send on an email today, but ran out of time. So I should be able to send out the email tomorrow with the details. But we have looked into all of the restrictions and had it reviewed so that we know it is accurate. Essentially, there's going to be 2 restrictions on the property. One of those expire in 2029. From the
Caballero
grant.
or here?
Cavallero.
Okay.
So in 2029, it frees up the majority of the land. The conservation futures are the remaining ones in 2 specific sections, but it shouldn't alter our decision to move forward with it. But I will put that out as well as the restrictions in place.
Okay, good.
Is there any way to take those restrictions off
Conservation futures don't expire. And so with that, you would have to go to the Snohomish County Conservation Futures Board and ask for it to be released. They don't have a full process for that, but in preliminary talks, it would likely match what we do with land and water conservation funds. And that would look like you have to pay today's value of the recreational land in order to release the covenants on the current park. And that would be so the money could be made available to build another park at equivalent usability for the public.
So it's not a no. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else?
I do. So what's the life expectancy of the product? I guess I'm looking for like how much that's going to cost and life expectancy and what the maintenance requirements are for those fields. I know the cost of the fields was a part of, big part of the discussion, but I don't see that in the handout. Did I miss something, or was that not addressed?
It was addressed at the retreat.
It was addressed at the retreat. I'm going to pull up my slide deck right now just to help with this conversation. What I can tell you is that synthetic turf typically has a warranty period of 12 years. It can last up to 20 years. That is with proper maintenance and ensuring things like driving doesn't occur on it. So there's a 12 to 20 year turnaround when you do synthetic turf. The cost of maintaining it on an ongoing basis, the curve is really high up front and then it declines over the years. Whereas with grass fields, we have a straight line with very high maintenance. It is cheaper to maintain synthetic turf fields. You just have to pay more upfront and then your operating cost significantly decreases. And we did have analysis on the daily cost of that. Let me see if I can pull it up.
You don't need to pull it now. If you could just send that out, I mean, that would be just like to all the council. That'd be helpful to see, because I just like to see what the current costs are, the maintenance costs are for the existing field, and what it would be with synthetic turf. The only comparable I know of personally is a Robbinswood field in Bellevue. When they switched over, their usage skyrocketed from the fields because it just with our wonderful wet climate here, they had limited opportunity to take advantage of the field there. So it'd be nice to see additional usage opportunities here.
Absolutely. I'll send out the presentation and a more detailed follow-up on the finances. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Anything else? No? Okay. I would like to move on and I added a discussion item. Basically, I would
You're
like,
going to go through the rest of these.
oh, are we going through? I am so
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay.
I thought we were done. Go
We'll,
ahead.
we'll keep cruising down through here. No worries at all. Okay, then we talked about the city buildings. And when Russ was doing a great job going over the museum design and mentioned that there was a deck facing Millspur, it jogged my memory that we want to make sure we have power out there, possibly for a PA system and speakers. So that's what the first note is.
I also talked to Russ about adding a water spigot
Okay,
for use for whoever needs it out on Mill Spur.
okay, great.
Potable water.
Okay.
It could be the same as what we have right out here on the mill, where it's a lockable and a commercial key.
Okay, great, thank you. And then there was discussion about in the future council chambers to make sure that the system that we install in there is really user-friendly and that the public or council members or city staff calling in for remote are able to be heard not only in the chambers itself, but online. So we'll definitely research that and that's been added to the list. And I know that Russ has talked to IT about the system that will go in there. Any questions on the city buildings, I should say? Okay. We talked about city properties and there was consensus that we could look at a possible price change for 99th property. And at this time, there was a consensus that a daycare or some sort of facility of that nature wasn't optimal at this location. But we'll continue to bring offers forward as they come in. And then 71st Drive, 7304 20th Street and 9105 and 9106 20th Street. We're going to maintain the price, but the 2105 and 2106, we would pull off the market in 90 days. So that's what we talked about on those properties. Any questions?
Yes, just a comment, and I shared this with President Donahue, which I just, with our limited economic development opportunities, those purple spikes, where possible, we really, because if we look at our revenue generation, I think we're only at 1.5% increase in revenue and our expenses are going up much higher than that. So we need to find some way to drive revenue.
Makes perfect sense. Great, thank you. And then we talked about the traffic camera program. The question came up of how many miles per hour over the posted speed limit is considered a violation. So we were bringing that information back. There was concerns about speeds on Lundin Parkway. And so we talked about during restriping, can that be restriped sooner than later to promote lower speeds? Council did support the camera program moving forward, but they also wanted to make sure that it started in school zones and then we'd come back and look at park zones such as Lundin Parkway.
So I guess I wasn't there for the discussion. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't include park zones along with the school zones. And so if there are like logistical issues that preclude that, but I just look at the speed. If we have 20% or 15% of the drivers driving on Lundin Park, we are going over 50 miles an hour. That's a problem. And that means 9 out of 10 kids that are hit there will die. And so we need to make sure that we are limiting the speed to the extent that we can on there. So I would support doing more early on. I think the program, it's not a question of whether the program works. It does work. It's an intent is for safety as the primary focus for us, because in both the primary areas, there's been a fatality on 91st and there have been serious injuries on Lundin Parkway. And I wouldn't want any of their family to have to experience that.
Was that, when we were talking about that, wasn't that a cost issue where we were kind of trying to go with school walk zones first due to cost and then?
Some was cost and most cities had better experience going to the school zones first, introducing the program, and then broadening it to include park zones. Not to say we can't do that. I mean, it's up to council on how big you want the program to start out, but that's historically what cities have done and how successful they were in starting in that order.
So we're talking, there's two ways of looking at it on the school zones, is school zones and school walk zones. So the walk zones is what we have written here and what we've discussed,
Mhm.
and that's a mile,
It's
within
true.
a mile of the school.
Yep. Mhm.
And so we're actually talking about school walks.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So it really then, when we go to design the system, it depends on what the costs are gonna be, whether we could go ahead and add Lundin Parkway or Lundin Park, North Cove Park, any of the other parks. It's kind
Well,
of,
Sunset Park is probably is a really significant issue too on the east side of the lake. It's 25-mile-an-hour zone there, but there's consistently people traveling
Right.
far in excess, even double the speed limit there, and there's no crosswalks there
right.
for people to get across. And so, at least on Lundin Park, where there's more safety features built in to make it safer to navigate that. So, and it's coming around a curve, so it's not really, it's doubly unsafe there.
So I guess a question about the costs. I mean, the company that we would be contracting with, they're providing the cameras, would they not be? So
That's my
the only
understanding.
cost that we're talking about is personnel cost at the police department to evaluate the infractions, right?
And there's signage, and I know Kim is going to be called on cold here, but do you have any information on the cost itself with you this evening?
I don't have any cost information off the top of my head. I know that we've looked at rough projected revenues and what the expenditures would be. And I think in general, all costs associated with implementing this program appear to be eligible for the revenue that the cameras will bring in. So to offset those costs. And then, you know, after a year or so, once we have money in the bank, then we could start implementing traffic safety capital projects with the revenue. That's the intent of the program. It might be helpful to know, I guess I was under the impression maybe the interest was to start with 3 locations in the city. It might be nice to know, or would council prefer to start with a handful, or do we want to do all the school zones and all the parks, you know, and have like 15 cameras up? That might help us
Well, if
gauge
it's
kind of
revenue
where we're
neutral,
focused.
we can just do it everywhere
It's-
that we're allowed to.
It's revenue neutral, but the city has to front the money to buy the equipment, meaning if there's no new striping that needs to go out or information signs that need to go up, advanced warning signs, the city has to buy all that in advance. Then we could recoup those costs, what Kim's saying, through the program. And that makes sense.
So the only cost we're really looking at it for us to make a determination of where we're gonna go is how much that's gonna cost.
And it would be helpful to have that information and to look at like a priority of, so I'm thinking the 1-mile walk zone, I'm looking at 91st. If you go from Skyline and the other elementary school, it's up to, you're basically looking
Oakhurst.
from Market Street all the way up to Costco, basically is about a mile. If you take that, I mean, that whole length, that road, I think is like 1.8 miles. So that would be the entirety of 91st from 20th to Market Street. If we're doing the 1 mile beyond the school zone. But it'd be helpful to have each of the school zones, the areas where we could put, I mean, I'm trying to think on where we would put on a 91st, but you guys are the experts and would have that information. But I just love to see like a priority list and a cost associated with that. And then we can kind of make better decisions from there.
Sounds great.
I guess for the school zones and for the park zones, that would be helpful.
How many schools do we have?
13.
That's what I thought.
I thought around like that.
One more coming up.
So there'll be 14 cameras just at schools
Well, the other one
if we
coming up
cover all
is-
schools.
So the other one coming up is up at Stevens Creek, right?
Right across the street.
Oh, so,
But
oh, so that wouldn't be an additional camera then.
Basically, it's 13 areas, right?
Plus how many
Well,
parks?
First, you got 3 schools in there too, so that's basically an area.
Okay.
So
So did they not gather data at each of those sites that we're proposing to do it? I know, or did they only choose select areas?
I don't know if they did all the areas, but they did quite a few, and we'll bring that list back.
Yeah.
Sure that you've,
It's been a little bit, so it's been a while. I don't remember the specific
Yep.
locations.
no problem. Off to the next one. Okay, great discussion on traffic camera program, budget subcommittee. There was a lot of discussion about should the city implement subcommittees again for council. Great discussion on that. It was decided that we definitely needed more discussion time on big budget items to make sure council is totally informed on decisions, decision-making points, how the budget's formulated, anything related to budget, we'll spend more time on. And then build in some more sessions during the budget cycle so that everybody has an opportunity to fully understand it prior to making the final decision. So we will do that. And then on the workshops, if there's items that could be put in a different location or addressed differently and use the workshops to focus on budget or high profile projects, we will do that. So we'll really work with the council president during agenda setting meetings to make sure that your time's well spent here. And certainly anytime you have a item that you want discussed, please let us know. And I think the rules say two council members need to let me know or one of the staff so we can get on the agenda, but we're pretty informal about that. If somebody wants to discuss something, let's get it on the agenda.
I do have, it would be my preference that all 7 council members be present because Councilmember Tatch and myself were absent from the workshop, and I don't feel like there was appropriate representation for a topic of this nature.
Okay.
So I would like a workshop where that can be discussed maybe a little more I guess I don't know how to the extent it was discussed, but I would like to be a part of that discussion because kind of getting a debrief from others just doesn't give me a good feel for what took place. But it sounds like some good steps have been taken to address some of the concerns.
Are you speaking specifically about a subcommittee for council?
Each of the items there. I mean,
Each
the subcommittee, is first, and then yeah.
Okay. I'll put it on my list here. Okay. And then what we talked about is changing the layout for workshops. So it's not so formal. So at our next workshop, you'll see it more of a kind of a circle, if you will, kind of like when we do the leaders roundtable. We're in a circle. It's more informal. We'll mix staff in between council members, and hopefully the floor discussion will be a little easier. So we're going to make that change and just see how it works. Any more questions about budget subcommittee items? Okay, great. There's a lot of discussion. I wasn't here for this particular item, so I'll have Russ help me out if any questions pop up. But the 116th, 117th pilot project we've got going, there was concerns about impacts to Cedar and 20th Street, and if those were going to be receiving more volumes, same on 25th and 26th. There were some safety concerns expressed in timelines, completing Grade Road specifically, discussions on how the pilot program was going to operate, the safety features, that type of thing. And then how we were going to get valid or beneficial feedback from the citizens that not only live there, but people that are driving that area frequently. And then add metrics to the city's project page. I did pull up the city's project page today. I didn't specifically see this, but it is a pretty robust page. If you haven't had a chance to see it, go ahead and get on the city's website. It's under Public Works Projects, I believe. And I did send that out to an inquiring citizen today, that link. So could the project be modified? This is the pilot project. Can it be modified during the time it's up? the answer to that is yes. Matter of fact, the team was out there making some adjustments today based on some feedback. So we're out there every day monitoring that and making adjustments. Baseline data timing, we talked about that. The mail and garbage service, that's been addressed. We did see a little bit of backup behind the garbage truck today, but that was to be expected. So we're watching that and we're prepared to make some adjustments in the future if needed. And the same with the mail. We were out there, Aaron and I today watching the mail delivery, and we saw a little bit of a backup just for about a minute, and then people were able to go by. But we are monitoring that, and the public works staff moved the mailboxes that need to be moved to the opposite side of the road where the mail people can walk or pick up. You'll see those in blue buckets for now, and that was a real good thing. And the post office is supportive of that. Ensure police input on the pilot project, which we're doing. And then how many accidents on 116th and 117th have occurred? We will monitor that, and we'll look at the past accidents as well to see. Any questions?
So what metrics will let us know that this pilot project was successful and that we should continue with a permanent implementation? And what are some metrics that would say this is clearly not a good fit? We need to revert back to the old. I'd imagine we have set metrics that are there in place. So what can we look to help us with that?
For sure, the feel of it, right? And I know this isn't something that can be just documented, but there's a huge difference between today with the delineators down the middle of the road to where if you're walking, it's a different experience today than it was prior to. So that's just one thing. Certainly all the feedback we're going to get from the citizens, we're documenting all of that as well. And we're recording speeds, we're recording pedestrian use of the path, we're recording how many vehicles are using it, those types of things. Is there any other data that you want to?
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in if that's okay for you. So I'm sharing my screen. This is the capital projects page that you can access through the city's website specifically for this project. There's a lot of information here as was mentioned. So right now the pilot project kicked off yesterday, May 5th, and it's for 4 weeks. So it's currently up and running. The metrics are posted right down here, and I can click on those and we can look at those. I did also just want to share that we have a way for people to submit any questions or feedback currently right now. But the intent is that once the pilot project's removed at the first week of June, we're going to have another public open house on June 18th. We'll announce the time and location of that, where we'll have another opportunity for the public to come and fill out a survey so we can compare and contrast before and afterwards. But everything that Jean mentioned is accurate in terms of what we're looking for with vehicle queues and volumes and speeds and the pedestrian usage. We took several different counts of people beforehand who typically would walk out there, and we want to compare that to see how many more people are walking. So these metrics are on the website. And I can zoom in a little bit if that's helpful. So these are the goals about reducing speeds, total vehicle volume, encouraging non-motorized use, reducing vehicle queues, and just improving the overall community sentiment. And then the measures are bad, good, better, great. So we have some quantifiable metrics under those categories. And then in general, we have some identifiers about what would make a successful project or an unsuccessful project, and what specifically we're going to measure here. And this was something we heard from the community at the 2 public open houses we held before the pilot project about. They were really interested to know, well, how are you going to know if this is a successful pilot project? What are you actually going to be measuring? We want to know the data ahead of time, so you're not changing the story, in the middle or at the end of the pilot project. So we've tried to provide all the information, and we're open to feedback currently, but then there will be an after study, and we're taking speed and pedestrian counts in the middle of the pilot project, once people have a week or two to kind of normalize their routines and get used to the configuration. Are there any other questions about that so far?
Anecdotally, where Gene said that walking in the walking space felt different to him than it did before. I drove it today actually 3 times. And when I was driving on 117th, I noticed that I was only doing 20 miles an hour and it felt like I was speeding. So it actually, changed changed the way I was driving on 117th. I've been driving that for 3 months now. So it's like, wow, this is totally different. It felt so different that I had to slow down.
Well, I'd love to see a similar result as on 91st when we put the sidewalks in there where we saw like a significant increase in usage. But I
There was
realized.
definitely more people walking and biking also that I've never seen before.
I know that there was concerns that when we did the initial traffic study during preliminary design, that was more around February when there wasn't great weather. So there was concern about the before metrics. But the past month in April, we've had staff out on site recording the day, the weather, the time frame, and counting the pedestrian usage so we can have more accurate before and after metrics as well.
So the only other issue that I can see is that in less than 2 weeks, the seniors are going to be gone. So your traffic counts are going to go way down based on just the high school. And that's mostly on 117th, 116th and in those areas. So they get out here in less than 2 weeks.
And I would invite council to go ahead and drive that loop if you get a chance on your way home this evening and just to see, when I was out there with Aaron, it was about 1:30, 2 o'clock. We walked the entire loop and there was like 4 people we passed that were out. So that was good. I don't know, how that compares, but it was, midday and there's walkers out there and including one woman was carrying her groceries. So that gave her a spot to walk. And so that was nice to see. Any additional questions? And certainly any feedback you have, please get that to myself or use the website to put your feedback on there. It'd be great. A few miscellaneous items. We talked about the city strategic plan and it was mentioned that we're getting close to finalizing that. And we will make sure that aligns with individual department strategic plans. There was a bit of conversation over graffiti around town and what's the timeline and code enforcement. There was one business identified, I believe, off of Market Street, and I did reach out to that property owner and that will be removed by the end of the week. And then provide council an update on the WashDOT changes to the SR9 roundabout. Just for Steve's knowledge, we met with WashDOT week and a half ago or something like that. And they had mentioned that because of the amount of accidents that they've had at the Highway 9 location where the new roundabouts are, they went ahead and did a review sooner than they normally do. And they met with us to look at where those accidents were happening. Thanks, Kim, for bringing this up. And they're proposing to make some lane adjustments. So do you want to talk about that right now, Kim? Are you prepared to do that?
I pulled it up if you want to just check this one off the list.
Yeah.
We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but yeah, WashDOT reached out, I think in
Thank you.
April. And there's a couple of slides here, but in general, they have history about where most of the incidences are occurring. It seems like it's where the multi-lanes are coming in and we have multi-lanes inside of the primary roundabout. I think the police department was involved in that meeting as well. But yeah, they've looked at a couple different alternatives and in general, it seems like this is their preferred layout that they're interested in trying to install this summer based off of weather, and it would be an evening closure. It's just striping to provide additional separation and eliminate a portion of the double lane inside of the roundabout to make it less confusing about who's yielding and merging. And there's some specific benefits listed here. This is like a plan sheet, but primarily it looks like the striping improvements will be at the roundabout off of 204. It sounds like the other ones are functioning okay. I even asked about the peanut roundabout and they said people have gotten used to that one. And that's the quick summary. This is some other alternatives that they looked at as well, but I think that they've kind of vetted pros and cons and have come up with the one that we looked at with the green striping.
Can you go back and look at the accident numbers on that? So
And the police department did note during the meeting that these counts that they have probably aren't accurate compared to what we've responded to. This is a lot less.
oh, yeah. I had one of the police officers told me we have 3 a day or something like that.
So I'm just looking at people coming from Soper Hill and heading south are able to generate more speed and enter the intersection, because I walk there and I've been hit almost many times walking through there wearing a vest and like a fluorescent vest. They don't care. They don't stop. I mean, they're going full tilt, getting around that corner. So it makes sense to me that the numbers are what, 5 times higher or more going south than going north.
Yeah, the good part about this is, if I have my dates right, I think WashDOT mentioned that they normally look at the data over a 3-year period after a new roundabout goes in, and they decided to do this at a 1.5-year time period because they have recognized the increase in traffic accidents. The good part is the fatalities have reduced significantly, but you do have much more, fender bender type of accidents occurring. But it has gained WashDOT's attention. It is their responsibility to make these adjustments and not the city. So I'm hopeful that these adjustments will help, and they'll continue to monitor it and bring us data. Because that was one of the questions we had. Are they going to monitor the changes and how that's being impacted, and how soon will they come back? And I think I requested to be, they come back by the end of the year, if I recall, to give us an update on how things have improved.
I just sent this out to you guys.
Thank you.
So this is a pilot program also?
No. No, they're just doing it.
So Gene, you mentioned a reduction. It said there was only 1 serious injury accident. I'm just, if you have the information, how many fatalities and how many serious injuries, that were there previously? Because I know most of these that I've seen are very low speed, collisions, which is not good, but it's way better than the high speed ones.
Yeah, I don't recall them showing the data at the meeting, but it was stated
That's lower.
that, yeah, it's a reduction.
And WasDOT makes this decision, not the city, correct? So this is more informative for us. We aren't really part of the decision-making process, correct? Right? Yeah.
Okay. That is our follow-up items. It's quite the list. Thank you.
Yeah, we talked a lot.
Okay, and Councilman Jurczak, did you have any questions?
No, thanks for checking in.
I don't see your face, so yeah, you're invisible to us. Okay, and I just wanted to add a discussion item. Actually, I noticed it again tonight, and it's regarding the boat launch parking at Cove Park. I've received really good feedback with the changes that were made at Davies Beach, that it runs really smoothly. And I drove past it the other day. It looked great. Cove Park and the boat launch here is a completely different situation. So I kind of wanted to talk maybe to the police chief as well as maybe Sarah with the Parks Department. The striping of the parking lot is dismal. It's very, very faded and worn. In the signage that shows trailer parking only, it's just almost non-existent. I think it's painted a few places on the parking lot, but there's no signage. And what's happening is, like tonight, for instance, 30% of the trailer parking was taken up by cars. And I talked to one of our officers on my way in. I had a conversation with him, and he says it's even worse during the farmers markets. And, we have 2 boat launches. We have this and we have the one over at Davies. And the citizens that are, launching their boats and parking their trailers have to either have a discovery pass if they're parking here at North Cove, or Lake Stevens Pass if they're parking over at Davies. And so they're paying for that parking, that trailer parking, and it's just not accessible. Especially if it's a sunny day. If we've had rainy weather and then we get a sunny day, our boat launch parking here at Cove Park is 30 to 50% taken up by cars. And we don't have that many parking spots to begin with. And then you'll see the, trailers lined up, as, all the way to Main Street. You'll see people parked out on the street all along Main Street. And I guess my question is, in the discussion I want to bring up, is we've got summer just literally right around the corner. Two things. What are our parking enforcement options? Because I honestly believe a lot of this parking is done in error. People don't realize they're parking where they're not supposed to park. So I'm wondering what our parking enforcement looks like, as well as the Parks Department's plans to restripe that parking lot and get some signage up so people know they're not supposed to park in trailer parking. Not to put anyone on the spot.
Just wanted to negotiate who's speaking first over here. Great questions, Member Shipman, and this has certainly been on my radar for a couple of years now. As far as enforcement goes, that is why the Parks Department brought forward the park ranger position to council. And we're working with the police department now that is officially a CSO position, and we'll have the park ranger duties in. So Chief can speak a little bit more to that. We are in recruitment right now to hire that second CSO to allow them to take on the park ranger duties, as one person can't do double the amount of work without having that body there. So I'm certain that once that's fulfilled, that we will be able to have consistent enforcement, and I'll let him speak more to that. The restriping of a lot of our parking lots, North Cove, Lundin, as well as Davies, all need to be striped. They had never been placed on a capital plan. And in recognition of the need, me and David spoke very heavily, David, the parks, yes, the parks field supervisor, thank you, spoke very heavily about it last year. What we are doing this year is pulling it out of our operating budget, and I will be able to do that without a supplemental budget as long as the quotes come in as expected. We currently have laid over all 3 locations that I mentioned with striping plans, and are working in partnership with Public Works engineering team. They're doing an overlay and striping for all of the roads. We are going to piggyback off of their bid to get the best pricing in order to do the parks as well. We're hoping to be able to do those in the late afternoons or overnight in order to minimize the impact during the days. With fresh paint, we'll be able to better differentiate lines as well as words on the ground, such as trailer parking only. We are looking at a few select spots at North Cove that can transition seasonally from 2 car stalls into 1 pull-through trailer stall. That'll allow the dynamic use of the area, especially recognizing that not everybody that needs the boat launch has motorized and trailers. Some of these people come in with non-motorized boats and also are buying that annual pass. So we're looking at the use and restriping in a way that'll hopefully accommodate everybody purchasing the annual passes. We've also, as you remember, with fee changes last year, added in hourly parking for the first time at North Cove. So that is going to be an option now for individuals who only want to pay for a few hours. Right now, if you pay, you can park there and still walk over and use the park. Nothing is contingent to only using the boat launch, but hopefully cars would choose free parking when they don't need to use that facility. Does that answer all the questions, or do you have anything specific for me before we pass it to Chief?
So it's not going to be simply vehicle and trailers. People can park for the park as long as without a trailer, as long as they have a permit. I guess I don't understand why you would park at the boat launch to walk over to the park.
People would, simply because when parking is full, and some families are having to park 2 or 3 blocks away to walk to farmers market, for instance.
And how many trailer parking spots do we have?
I'll have to look at the mapping, get a count. I'm not prepared for that today, but can certainly follow up.
Okay.
The ones that we're looking at transferring to double car stalls, we're talking literally 2 or 3 stalls, not a high number.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, and you also mentioned signage. I apologize. We did our very first large sign order last year. We focused on signs that you could not read or that were non-existent. We need to come back with a striping plan to also do a second batch of signs, which would include new signs for trailer parking only. That would come with the updated fee amounts in hopes of encouraging compliance.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sarah, you mentioned you're going to piggyback on Public Works on the overlay program. So when would you anticipate some striping to occur?
Absolutely. The engineering department will be going to bid within the first 2 weeks of May was their original plan. I believe that they're on track for that. With that, we would go out to bid and it would be happening likely in June or July, depending on contractors' schedules.
So halfway through the boating season. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for her? Do you want me to begin?
I think we're ready for you.
For the students who are in the audience here taking notes for their class, I'm Chief Bezzo from the Lake Stevens Police Department. What we've done is you've did consent agenda. We've changed our parking ordinance. We worked with city legal with Parks and Rec. When Sarah got here, we were talking about the enforcement of in our parks about parking fees and stuff, and there was nothing in our ordinance. So with that consent agenda today, you have put in, it is prohibited now unlawful to park in designated areas without paying posted parking fee or displaying a valid city approved parking pass. So that will help us do with the enforcement that we need to do in the parks. Like Sarah said, we're working on hiring our second CSO. We went through a set of interviews. We did not take an applicant, so we had to repost it, which is out right now, and it closes here in about 6 days. And hopefully we'll get some more applicants and be able to go through the process with those. So we're hoping we can get them on in the next couple of months because we have to do a background and everything else. So right now we have one CSO. She's out working and doing the enforcement work that she can do, but we're hoping to get the other one hired. So that'll help with enforcement also.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions?
Nope.
No? So,
Chief.
thank you. And so do we move on to the executive session then?
Yeah, so we've got an executive session tonight, a confidential session of the council, RCW 4230-110 collective bargaining. I do believe Anya needs 30 minutes. There's 2 topics. No action? No action. So they will come back and just adjourn the meeting is the plan.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So 7:07, we'll give 3 minutes to set up, 7:10, and be back at 7:40.
So on your way out, what was the time for that library? 5 p.m. Yeah. Wanted to put it in my.
With the clerk, I saved the dates.
All right, thank you. I got the email already, so, but I just didn't put it in my calendar, so I want to make sure I update my calendar.
I don't want to, Angie and Greg, if you could go over to the Teams link that Caitlin sent out earlier today, that would be great. And make sure to mute Zoom. Okay, I just didn't hear. Test. Oh, there you go. Councilmember Georgestein, can you hear me? Back on Zoom? Okay, maybe she hasn't switched over. I think we're on. So we're just going to do a motion to adjourn, correct?
Okay, could I get a motion to adjourn?
So good.
Second?
Second,
Okay, it's been motion and second. We are
Third.
adjourned.
or
And thank you.